Anthony Segrich cherishes every day he wakes up and spends with his wife. Perhaps a bit more than most of us. Why? Well, there was a moment in time on a lovely spring day in April 2011 when Anthony, 33 years old at the time, almost lost his life. He was spearfishing for cobia, 187 feet below the surface, with his buddies off Palm Beach, Florida.
All of a sudden, one bull shark came up after the cobia, and the cobia and the bull shark raced to the surface, pulling out all the chute line, and I got a weird feeling.
That weird feeling was a second bull shark, 10 plus feet long, 17.5-inch mouth, heading straight for him.
First bite went through the kneecap and ankle at the same time, and then as it pushed me up, it bit down a total of 5 times. And each time it bit, my leg kind of pulled it a little bit further out of its mouth, and so it left semicircle bites throughout the leg. So it severed the kneecap straight through. And I held on to my one buddy, and he brought me up from almost 200 feet as my other buddy swam around us, keeping the rest of the sharks off. Because once they hear something crackle, like a bone breaking and things like that, they all come in to see what's going on.
The year Segrich was attacked, there were reported 75 unprovoked bites worldwide. A dozen people died. The numbers are fairly consistent year after year, averaging 72 unprovoked bites. In 2021, 73 unprovoked bites. This past year, 2022, the number was 75, with another 16 provoked attacks and 9 fatalities. 15 bites occurred in Australia, second to the United States, with 51. So what's the difference between provoked and unprovoked?
I don't think I want to meet that shark.
No, well, maybe now.
Yeah, definitely. Now is okay.
Not before we collected the jaws, yeah. This is from a mako shark.
Toby Daly Engel is director of the Shark Conservation Laboratory at Florida Institute of Technology. This, she says, would be considered provoked.
If somebody catches a shark while fishing from the beach and they bring it up on shore and they go to take the hook out and it's not quite dead and it bites them a little bit, that's a shark attack.
Nearly half of the U.S. bites last year, 25, happened in Florida, which leads the way every year simply because more people swim, surf, and play in Florida waters than just about anywhere else. And there's lots of bait in the water, and it comes close to shore. On top of that, of the 50 or so shark species that roam the U.S. East Coast, 40 of those hang out in Florida waters.
The numbers of shark attacks are really very, very small, right?
Correct. Yeah, they have a lot more to fear from us than we do from them. So there's, on average, between 0 and 5 to 10 shark fatalities per year in the entire world.
Worldwide.
Yeah, and that's, for the most part, shark attacks, only about 3% of all shark attacks are fatal. In the U.S., that goes down to 1%.
But every year, primarily in summer months, reports of vicious bites make the news, ramping up our anxiety over sharks and making us wonder, are they out to get us? In 2022, a woman snorkeling in the Bahamas is attacked and killed by a bull shark. A teenage girl lost her leg while scalloping in shallow water on Florida's west coast.
So I want you to, yeah, there you go. I want you to really focus on controlling your weight with your arms. Perfect.
An 11-year-old boy lost part of his leg after an attack in the Florida Keys. As devastating as these attacks are, researchers insist sharks are not out there looking for humans to bite.
When shark attacks do happen, we think that it's a case of mistaken identity because we as humans are really late in the game in terms of evolution compared with sharks. They've been around since way before the dinosaurs, and they evolved in the ocean. They eat ocean animals. We do not live in the ocean, and so we are not their natural prey.
The sharks actually, when they lose their teeth, they regenerate?
Oh, absolutely. You can see them right here. This is like a conveyor belt.
Oh, look at that.
And they come from the back.
Gavin Naylor is director of the Florida Program for Shark Research at the University of Florida.
So we're interested in the unprovoked bites, the bites that animals seemingly out of nowhere bit a human and without any provocation. And of those, 60% are in really low visibility. So the sharks are making an estimate of what it is that they're biting and making a mistake.
Whether a mistake or not, humans, at least most of us, want nothing to do with sharks.
Yeah.
We have this terrible fear of sharks.
Yeah.
Is it well placed?
No, it's not. Statistically, it's silly, because the number of people that are adversely impacted by sharks, bitten by them or killed by them, is tiny compared to the number of people that die in other activities that we are not frightened of. We go to work in our cars every day, and the number of people that are involved in traffic accidents and fatalities associated with this is huge compared to shark bites.
From a human standpoint, is the human fear of sharks unjustified?
No, I'm pretty sure it's justified. I mean, I'd be scared of something that can eat you. I mean, it won't, but
It could.
it could, right? And there's always that threat. I think with sharks, it's the fear of the unknown.
In the ocean, it sort of plays into the human fear about monsters under the bed. You go to the sea, it's beautiful, it's glassy, clear, and it looks very calming. But underneath that veneer is the unknown, and the unknown permeates to great depths.
So, Anthony, is this something that even after all these years, you relive it, and does talking about it help?
Talking about it does help, and yeah, you relive it. You dream about it, you think about it.
That, Segrich knows, will never go away. So you would think if anyone would fear the water and sharks, it would be Anthony Segrich. And you'd be wrong.
How long was it after the incident, the attack, that you got back out on the water?
My friends took me out 2 days after I got out of the hospital.
2 days after you got out of the hospital?
We went free diving, and I couldn't use the one leg, so I just went in a circle at the surface.
Anthony had spent 8 weeks in the hospital undergoing 8 surgeries, more than 130 stitches.
The bite had severed everything in the knee area and went right through the kneecap, through the bone, through all the ligaments, all the tendons, all the nerves. Basically everything except for the artery and a couple of veins was severed. And so they had to reattach everything.
It was 3.5 years, Anthony says, of physical therapy just to wiggle his big toe. Bull sharks like the one that attacked Anthony, along with tiger and great whites, are the ones you just don't want to run across.
Are those the 3 most dangerous, for lack of a better way to put it?
That's a great question. If you define danger in terms of the ones most responsible for fatalities, then absolutely. But they're also very large animals. And so if you get a nibble from a small shark that's 2 feet long, like an Atlantic sharpnose, you might get a stitch or two or a cut finger. But if you get a nibble from a white shark, it could remove your leg.
Perhaps the biggest issue a shark bite victim faces during his or her recovery is the bacteria carried in the shark's mouth.
I mean, the sharks' mouths are like a sewer. They're full of all sorts of bacteria. And at that time, they had no idea what kind of bacteria it was. So they hit you with everything they got. They take out all the big guns and they just pump you full of antibiotics.
Nathan, when you started this research, did you have any idea, inclination of what the outcome might be, what you'd find?
Absolutely no idea, no thought on what the outcomes would be. I just knew that I was tasked with a challenge of swabbing the mouth of the shark, and that was exciting enough to get me on board.
Nathan Unger was a young researcher in the College of Pharmacy at Nova Southeastern University in Florida when he was asked by a trauma surgeon in West Palm Beach to get bacteria from sharks' mouths.
So if you survive that shark bite and don't bleed out, antibiotic therapy is going to be your next important thing. So research like this would be helpful to help guide our physicians in selecting the most appropriate antibiotic therapy.
Unger worked with a local fisherman catching sharks, swabbing their teeth, and then releasing them. Unger found a lot of the bacteria, Vibrio, Common in saltwater environments, it can infect open wounds and lead to amputations.
Were there any surprises in what you found when you were swabbing the sharks?
There was some Staph aureus, which is a typical bacteria you find in your skin that you may have heard of as MRSA infection.
Yes.
There was some of that in the mouth of the shark. So occasionally, some species, actually some of the samples did bring up Staph aureus, which is interesting. You know, not something you might have thought of being in the mouth of a shark.
Unger and the fishermen caught their sharks fishing right from the beach. Not something Unger thought would be so easy.
I was blown away. I happened to have my family with me at that time. Scared the bejesus of my wife. She's like, I'm already afraid of the ocean. Now you showed me how close sharks are. I'm done. So it was eye-opening seeing how close and how easy it was to catch a shark from the beach.
So where the sharks are at any one time is simply determined by the concentrations of prey species.
And again, there's plenty of prey in Florida waters to fill the bellies of these beasts. Surfers with their arms and legs hanging off the boards are often bitten. Researchers say wave action churns up the bottom, leading to poor visibility.
If there happens to be schooling fishes in those areas that are feeding, and the sharks move in to feed on the schooling fishes, right there you have a situation with food for the sharks, very low visibility, and the sharks are chasing the food, and there's humans in the water taking advantage of the surf.
It's important not to miss out on the fun of the ocean, and because again, we're in Florida. I mean, we spend our lives at the beach and in the ocean. We fish, we surf, it's a big part of our culture. And I want people to know that that is not incompatible with sharks, because sharks have always been there. We are not their prey. They're not hunting us. They could if they want. We're not worth it. They don't even recognize us as potential food.
Shark researchers say take in the surroundings, swim in groups. Don't get in the water at dusk or at night when sharks are active. Don't swim in murky water or places where big waves are churning up the bottom. Don't wear shiny jewelry. The reflection looks like fish scales to a shark. And always swim near a lifeguard. The bottom line, just be smart. Don't give a shark added incentive to bite.